Be'ezrat Hashem, na'aseh v'natzliach. I'd like to welcome you to Ironside Lunch and Learn. I'd like to give an honorable mention to Chen Ben Tzchak that is sponsoring the lunch today, and for our good friend Dotan that's here honoring us with his presence. And Be'ezrat Hashem, this lesson should also be the atzlacha to the easy pregnancy of Sheina Badinam Simcha Batshula V'Latzlachat Horai. This week's Parashat is a double header, Tazria Metzora. Very, very interesting. The Parashat begins with וידבר השם אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל לאמור, אישה כי תזריע וילדה זכר וטמאה 7 ימים כמי נידת דבותה תטמא. The parasha begins with the instruction for a woman that gives birth to a boy, and then the tum'ah process. So if you think about it, didn't she just do the most amazing thing in the world? She just gave birth. She just brought human life. How did she become tme'ah? Right away, she gets the label of tme'ah. Not only that, if it's a boy, if it's a girl, 33 days, 66 days, plus the 7 of the nikayon. So, and then right after that, right after it talks about Isha ki Tazria, it talks about the Metzora. Talks about a person, Adam ki yeh be'or besaro se'et, o sapachat, o baheret, v'haya be'or besaro lenega tzarat. What is the connection that we have between a woman that just gave birth and her tum'ah status to a guy that has 4 different levels of tzarat, which is leprosy? Now, leprosy is not a skin disease like today, that you see that you can go to a doctor and get the lotion and you put it on your skin and it goes away. Sometimes it doesn't. And also, this leprosy is a disease that limbs can fall off, pieces of the body can fall off. This is spiritual leprosy. This is leprosy that can go on a person's body, on his clothes, on his house, on his furniture. We don't have that. You don't have a couch in the house with a rash. You don't have a wall in the house that has some sort of blotch. This is not mold. This is spiritual leprosy. This is very unique. If you think about it, it's very deep. What is this tzarat and what is the connection? So, first we have to understand the Metzora. How does he get to this point in his life that he becomes Metzora, that he has this leprosy on his skin? So the rabbis tell us this particular person has a particular attitude. He has a way about going around the world and with people. The way he treats people and the way he treats the world. He has a certain approach. And when a person gets to this point where he feels a lot of ga'ava, a lot of haughtiness, a lot of pride, and he starts to become arrogant, typically, the result of that, he begins to talk lashon hara. The Metzora is actually because he is motzi ra. He starts to emit bad from his mouth. He starts to talk, and everything that comes out of his mouth is bad. Motzi ra. And typically, motzi ra is lashon hara. Talk about this guy, talk about that girl, talk about this thing, about that. Constantly complaining, talking negative. And when a person starts to get to that state, he begins to hurt people. He begins to hurt his environment. He starts to hurt people in society. Sometimes it's physically. Sometimes it's emotionally. Sometimes it's the attitude of being disrespectful or being crude or being a brute. You start to become a person that is lacking midot, and you're becoming like a person that has a very, very bad aura around him. Everywhere he goes, he's just being shlili, being negative. And a big sign of that is when he starts to talk Lashon Hara. Back in the days, when a person becomes this low-level type of attitude and acting, we could tell. How can we tell? Tzarat. You see the guy. He starts to have blotches on him, on his skin, his house. That's before. After, there's a process. After he gets like this, he has to go to the Kohen. The Kohen has to check the hairs, the spots, if it's on the leg, if it's on the hair, if it's on... Where this little nega came out. And according to that, he gets this spiritual prescription from the Kohen what to do. Typically also he has to go outside of the camp for 7 days, come back, get checked again. If it didn't go away, he has to go back and forth. Because during the time that he's away from the camp, he's alone. Just him and his tzarat. All he can do is think about him. There's nobody else around him. Because what happens when he speaks Lashon Hara, he's making people feel excluded. He's pointing out one person and he's making them feel bad. And imagine if he's pointing out one person when he's in a group or in a community. So all the people in the group or in the community look at that person and they start to distance themselves from that person. So because you caused people to distance themselves from one individual, we take you and we distance you from everybody. And it's interesting because the entire time when the Torah and the Parashat speaks about this person, it always brings the word Adam. Adam ki yeh be'or b'saro se'at. Every time that they speak, that the Kohen sees him, the Kohen says to him that this is an Adam. So you have to understand that in the Torah we see when they say a person, they use 4 words for a person. They either say Enosh, or they say Gever, or they say Ish, or they say Adam. Adam is the highest. So the question is, if Adam is the highest level you can call a human being, a person, why are we calling the Metzora Adam? Shouldn't he be a lower level classification as a name? So we learn from here that sometimes when a person is on the highest level that he can be, he starts to get gava. When he starts to be an Adam, that's when he starts to look down at people. This guy because of his financial status. This guy because of the car he's driving. This guy because of the bank account. This guy because of the neighborhood that he's in. This guy because of his skin color. This guy is because of his family. You start to find reasons. You start to look people from up above. So just when you get to that level of Adam, that's when these Metzora subjects come into the picture. Why? Because apparently it comes with Gava. So the Gava changes a person's attitude. A person, when he becomes prideful, it changes his attitude. It changes his outlook towards people. So what is the connection again of the Metzora to a pregnant woman that just gave birth? So I got this chidush from Rav Yoram Aberjo, Zecher Tzadik Livrecha, from his book Imre Noam. He says that the connection between Isha, Tazria, and Torah Metzora is that if you want to merit to have righteous children, you want Yeladim Tzadikim, you have to treat all mankind with respect. You have to be a human being, a gentleman with all the people that are around you. If you're going to act like a Metzora, you're not going to merit to have children. And if you are going to merit to have children, they're not going to be tzaddikim. So if you want to have a kid that is born and merits to Brit Milah and a Bar Mitzvah and a Chatuna, and in the process he's a Torah child and he has Torah Mitzvot and Maasim Tovim in his life, don't act like a Metzora. Act like a human being. Have kavod lebriot. You must treat mankind with respect. As a matter of fact, there's a pasuk that says, Banim atem l'Hashem Elokechem. There's a pasuk that we are children, sons to Hashem our God. So if we are the sons of God, imagine if some human being comes and disrespects us. How can you disrespect the Son of God? How dare you? So if anachnu banim l'Hashem Elokim, so imagine if somebody comes and disrespects God's children. It's like, sometimes in society there's the rich kid's son, or the rabbi's son, or some guy or the president's son. You give him respect. Oh, he's the president's son, he's the rabbi's son, you give him respect. So imagine you're God's son. Would you disrespect someone like that? That's why the Metzora, he's completely out of line in the way he's carrying himself. The Metzora, once he gets to this position, we deal with him. We have a system in Judaism how to deal with a person that acts like this, behaves like this, and carries himself like this within our society. Once he goes through the teshuvah process, now imagine he's sitting outside of the camp. Here's like millions of people over here, and one little guy over there in the corner in timeout. Sit there and think about yourself and think about everything that you did, how you spoke, how you acted, how you behaved, how the pain you caused to that guy you spoke Lashon Hara, how people are thinking about him, and all you can see is look at his body and says, how do I have this blotch on my hand? How do I have this blotch on my face? Or why? Because of what I did. And he thinks about it, and then he begins this teshuvah process. Later on, if he's done it properly and the hairs on his body or the signs on his body start to change and you can see that he's starting to heal, one of the things that he goes back into society is he gets completely shaved. His hair, his eyebrows, his mustache, his body. Do you ever see a person without hair? Especially, very weird when you see a person without eyebrows. Changes the look of a human being. I don't know if you've ever seen it, like it catches you off guard. We're so used to seeing eyebrows on people. Try to say human being without eyebrows. It's weird. So here's this guy, he's walking in society. So you can imagine, they're in the shuk, they're shopping, and there's this guy walking around. What happens? The first reaction, you move back a little bit. Or, this guy, watch out, he's a motzi ra. He speaks bad about people. And it's embarrassing, right? Because the Jewish people at that time, righteous, tzaddikim, they're living with the Mishkan, they're living with Moshe Rabbeinu, they're living with God in their life. And not only that, after the desert, in Eretz Yisrael, these are high-level Jews, not the generations that we're in today. So to be in society, to be looked down upon, it's a big, big tikkun. It's very embarrassing. And he's excommunicated from the community. And we know that being excommunicated or being alone is very dangerous. Being alone is very, very dangerous. The reason why is because when a person is by himself, there are these mezikin, these mechablim, these destructive angels, that they look for people that are loners. They look for people that are solo, because they know how to attack them and hurt them spiritually, physically, emotionally. They know how to do it. Because when a person is on his own, he's weak. As a matter of fact, when two people are together, Masechet Brachot in the Gemara says that the mezikin cannot bother those two people. The Masechet Brachot, it recommends that when you're walking in the streets, especially at night, make sure you go in twos. Why? The mezikin don't bother people that are in groups. Or at least minimum two. Because there's a protection in groups. There's a protection in a community. As a matter of fact, there's a huge protection when you're in a not only in a group setting, but when you're part of a community, when you're part of a minyan. So now, if you imagine the Metzora, he's there by himself. What's happening? All these mezikin trying to get him, trying to depress him, trying to maybe give him a health issue. He put himself in a dangerous spot. The Metzora is jeopardizing himself and others in the way that he acted. Masechet Brachot continues to say, "Le'olam al yotzi adam et atzmo min haklal." He says, here's a good rule for you. Never take yourself out of the group. Don't be a loner. Don't be a hermit. Don't be a splinter cell. Just like I don't need friends. I don't need people. I don't need family. I like my space. I like to be by myself. It's not healthy. It's not good. As much as sometimes people enjoy their quiet time, their alone time, don't make it a lifestyle. Don't become a hermit. As a matter of fact, even if you're a little bit in society, don't get into the thing where when you pray on your own. You don't pray in a minyan. You pray in the house. Don't become that. Always look for a minyan. We spoke many times about that also. Just I'll throw that in there. The advantage of praying to a minyan. When you go into a minyan, right away, all the prayers go up. Right away. From A to Z, from Mi Aleph Ataf, anything that comes out of your mouth gets delivered. Secondly, who says you're going to get answered? Maybe you don't deserve to get answered. But maybe there's about 3 or 4 tzaddikim that are praying with you in the minyan, and because they're in the minyan, your prayer is going to get answered because you're part of that group. There's a couple of guys in the group that they upgraded the whole status of this minyan, and now you're part of their tefillah. Their tefillah is going to get answered, and so is yours. But if you're in the house, or if you're praying by yourself, as soon as you send up that tefillah, what happens? They say, who's this guy that's praying? Why should we answer his prayer? And they begin to chop it down. That eventually, by the time you get to the tefillah gets to the shamayim, who knows what gets up there? So there's big benefits to being part of a community. Not only in prayer. When you're part of a community, I can tell you this much. You go into a room with 10 people, there's practically nothing that you can't do. Because if the people that are there cannot help you, they know somebody that can help you. Sit in a room of 10 people, you can get anything done. I know this, I can get that, I have this. You work together. Try to do something on your own. You always hit a roadblock. There's only so much you can do for yourself. Very, very important to be part of a community. And the Metzora, he jeopardizes that. For himself and for others. That's why the different levels of the Metzora, we say that he has se'et, or sapachat, or vaheret, or negatzarat. These are all different levels. And we say that he has over there a netek. When it comes to the hairs, it talks about a hair that gets disconnected. So what's the netek? You can see that even the words that are being used are trying to show you that the word netek, or in Hebrew, natek, is to get disconnected. He says anything that the Metzora does causes a disconnection, causes a distance between people. And it causes a person to disconnect between man and man, obviously, because he's talking Lashon Hara, as well as he has to get sent out of the camp. And also causes a distance for a person between him and God. Because right now there's a distance. You're not exactly doing everything that Hashem wants you to do. You're transgressing over here. So it creates a distance. And something that we have to be very careful about is to not disconnect from society. To not disconnect from people. To not disconnect from religion. To not disconnect from God. Don't try it. It doesn't work. At one point you'll find out that it was the wrong path. After a day, after a week, after a month, after a year, after a decade, after a lifetime, you'll find out it's the wrong way. The worst thing is when you stay strong to this, I just want to, no religion, no God, no people, I don't want to leave me away, no shul, constantly pushing yourself away from your true essence. Later on, when a person realizes the truth, and Hashem lets people realize the truth. Sometimes at 50, sometimes at 60. You know what happens at those ages when you find the truth? It hurts. You have a big hole in your chest. Why? You missed the boat. Because all the things that you wanted that you could have done, maybe physically you can't do it anymore. Maybe financially you can't do it anymore. Maybe you don't have the drive. Maybe you have such a track record, such a track history, saying, how am I going to get back from everything that I did? You start to become demoralized. And not only demoralized, but you start to get depressed. There's nothing worse than a bitter old man. Or somebody who's a depressed old man. You know, when they get older, it's hard for them to get motivated in life. So when you double up with something like that, it's very, very tough. However, I can tell you from experience, you go to a community where a person is 70 years old and he's been in the community for 10, for 20 years, go look at that 70-year-old. Happy. He has friends. When he's down, he's got help. Go look at a 70-year-old that just opens up his mouth in shul, he needs something. Go look how many people want to help him. Go see what happens when a person passes away and he's been part of the community. You go to that funeral and there's people there paying respect. And then there's times that people that have not been part of the community, they're trying to scratch a minyan that they can say Kaddish for them at the Bet Gvarot. It's sad. It's sad. I don't give you my pitch for being part of a community so somebody can read for you Kaddish when you're dead. But I'm going to tell you something. It's noticeable. It's part of it. It's part of it. Not only are you have like a social circle that helps you grow spiritually or for friends or for unity. But later on in life, it's important. Imagine, there's many, many people that at the time that they pass away, an absolute stranger, a rabbi that doesn't even know the guy says, listen, I got a guy over here. He was a loner. 20 years, he didn't leave his apartment. Nobody can say Kaddish for him. Why? Because disconnecting from society. Don't do it. So just the way that we have this netik, this tzara that causes a person to disconnect from society and from people, you take the same word netik and you turn it around, it becomes taken. It's another way to do the tikkun. What's the way to do the tikkun on a netik? Is by making sure that you don't disconnect. You don't disconnect from your parents. You don't disconnect from your children. You don't disconnect from your friends. You don't disconnect from society, from your community, from God, from religion. Because if you're that type of person that is distancing himself from everything that is supposed to bring him closer to community, you're the modern age Metzora. By choice. By choice. You don't have to have a marking on your body. The marking is your life. And we know very well that the secret to a Jew is the unity. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. What's the secret to God? God is one. Well, think about it. One time, sit down and think about Shema Yisrael. What are they trying to tell us in this pasuk? Hashem Echad, unity. When we're all one, that's our power. As a matter of fact, Yaakov Avinu, right before he passed away, he gave us the secret. He says, come, gather around my children. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in the end of days. I'm going to give you the secret of Mashiach. It escaped him. He didn't give us the date. But what does it say? He says, gather, and I'll tell you what happens at the end of the days. He said, look at the first word. Gather. That's what you need to do. That's what happens in Acharit HaYamim. You need to gather. That's how we're going to make it. It was cryptic, his message. Thought something that was very interesting is that they say that the tzarat, the nega, would go on a person, would go on his clothes, would go on his furniture, and then it would also go on his house. So look at this. You know, like Hashem sometimes says, I don't want to embarrass you. You got to go to work today. You got to go do shopping for Shabbat in the market. I'm going to give you a sign on your house. You're doing something wrong. Change your ways. Do tshuva. The guy says, no. I'm going to keep going. I'm still going to talk about my neighbor. He goes on the couch. Sitting down on the leather couch has a big blotch. Hashem said, please, do tshuva. Yeah, look at your house. Look at the wall. Look at the couch. What, are you going to keep going? He keeps going. He goes, listen, you have it on the clothes. I don't want to, I'm escalating the warning. The guy goes, no, more. And then he goes on his skin. I don't imagine what level you have to be to let it go and from level to level to level to level and still not do teshuvah. But apparently it happened. And we know sometimes there's people that are makpidim. They stay strong in their ways. That no matter what you tell them, they still want to go and motzira in the world. We see it. It's a reality. It's not like some sort of a hybrid human being I'm talking about. It's common. We think about a couple of friends in our minds that you could see, there's that guy. But I thought what was very interesting is the tzarat or the nega batim, that it was in the house. In Perik Yudalet, Pasuk Lamedalet, it says, Ki tavou el eretz Canaan, asher ani noten lachem la'achuza. Says when you, at the time when you guys finish living in the desert, and you'll be able to enter Eretz Yisrael, which at that time is called Eretz Canaan, that I'm giving it to you, la'achuzad, I'm giving it to you to inherit it. V'natati nega tzarat bevet eretz achuzatchem. It says, and I'm going to give you a tzarat in the house. Hashem is going to put tzarat in the house. So you know tzarat is a signal of a person who's misbehaving, who was talking about Lashon Hara. Why would Hashem put tzarat in the homes of the Jewish people? So this is very interesting. He says, the Canaanim, when they heard that the Jewish people were coming to conquer the land, what did they do? So we're going to fight, but we're scared. So what did they do? They took all their treasures and they buried it in the wall. You know, like today we have safes, or there's a custom to do it mitachat labalatot, under the floors. That time the Canaanim, they did it in the walls. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu put the tzarat in the wall, so the Jews would go, they would break this part of the wall because that wall needs to get destroyed and to be rebuilt again. And all of a sudden as they're breaking the wall, what do they see? Diamonds, gold coins, a treasure. And one of the reasons that God did this is because the Canaanim, they were idol worshippers. Hayu avdim avodah zara, which basically means that before they built a home, what did they say? They take the first brick and they say, I built this home so I can worship my idol. And this is going to be a house of idol worship. So like their kavanot is that as they're building the house, this is going to be a house for idol worship as well. So because there was a kavanah of idol worship, you can't have that in a Jewish home. So those walls had to get destroyed. So Hashem would put the nega on that wall so they can see that this is the wall that was built in honor of Avodah Zarah. And in return, they would have to destroy it. And in return, they would get the reward of the gold and the jewels. So we see over here that sometimes Hashem gives a person the tzarat. Right? We see that it's possible that a person can have a nega, some sort of something that is like a disease, or something like a challenge, or something that he gives him something that he needs to work on. Like the person, the Metzora, needs to work on himself. He needs to work on his midot. And at the end of it, he gets a reward. Why would he do that? Sometimes in life, Hashem gives you hardships. And you feel like, what is this? And you feel like all of a sudden you're in a decline. You're in a yerida. But as you go into that yerida, as you go on that decline, whether it's a spiritual decline or any sort of difference of life that you feel that you're being challenged right now, sometimes it's for the best. Why? Because it's yerida leman aliyah. Sometimes Hashem gives it to you that you dip in order for you to go up. But we learn from here, He gave the nega in the house to what? So they can find the treasure. Similarly, sometimes Hashem gives you the challenge so you can go down, because when you're working on yourself, when you're down, you discover yourself. You discover that you can develop a new attitude about life, that you can develop a new approach about life, that you have all of a sudden a different outlook about life. And in reality, you come out of this dip a much better person, an upgraded version of yourself. So sometimes a person can have a nega in his life, and all of a sudden the work that he does on himself during this nega comes out that he finds treasures. He finds that, look at me, I'm a better person, I have a better attitude, I have a better approach. As a matter of fact, it was the best thing for me. So the modern day Metzora is two people. It's either one that is oblivious to it, and he is mamash the Metzora, Motzira in public, and he goes through all these things, and eventually he is going to be excommunicated, disconnected, and completely out of touch of the united Jew that he needs to be. And then there's the Metzora that healed himself, that through the process of Teshuvah was able to find absolute jewels and treasures in his life because of his new approach and his new outlook on life. We learn from here that sometimes we lose ourselves because we are on a very high level. Like we said, there's so many different levels of calling a human being. The Torah chose in Metzora, Adam. And sometimes when you get down to a very high level, what happens? You lose sight of things. You become arrogant. You become haughty. You become very prideful. So the Torah is telling us, be careful when you get to that. Be careful. Because if you get sucked into those negative outlooks, you're going to have the same result of a Metzora. But if you do get to a Metzora, there's a way out. And if you do get out of it, there's treasures at the end of it. So Be'ezrat Hashem, that we work on our midot. That it's no secret that right now, the reason we're talking about a Metzora is because we're during the Omer. And during the Omer, we are right now working on our midot. Why are we working on midot? Because we're in a bridge between Pesach to Shavuot. Between Pesach to Shavuot, it's 49 days of character refinement. 49 days of spiritual refinement. We're preparing ourselves, Ben Adam lechavero, and between Ben Adam lemakom, in order to receive the Torah on Shavuot. And right now we're in the Omer. Look at us, we're not getting haircuts, we're growing our beard. Why? Because we're mourning the Rabbi Akiva's 24,000 students. Why did they die? Ki lo chalku kavod ze lazeh. They didn't respect one another. They had a motzira, they spoke bad about one another. So you can see that Parashat Tazria and Metzora is completely connected to the energy that's available to us right now with the morning Rabbi Akiva students, with the spiritual refinement, with the character refinement as we prepare ourselves for Matan Torah again during Shavuot. Shalachem Shabbat Shalom Mevorach. Hashem Varech Otchem Samech.